UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. And I do come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where we are coming live this morning. It's about 21 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. and we are back to speak the latest from the world of sport, from the world of football. And I hope you will get to enjoy this one because there is plenty that's happening. Our topic this morning will revolve around Manchester United and beyond. We have some what ifs to discuss that sort of sound promising. Yeah, I'll be interested in hearing what your thoughts are. Yeah, and things like that, really, and things like that. But I hope you had a wonderful night. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to every single one of you that managed to catch last night's broadcast. People like Payson, people like King Lotto, people like Pedri, people like Testa, Austin Walker. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Tom, it was a pleasure seeing you guys around. Shumai says hi. I'm only here for a few minutes. Always much appreciated, even if it were for 1 minute. I always do appreciate you, Ashmael, for dedicating a couple of minutes to be with us in your oftentimes busy schedule. So I do not take that for granted. So thank you so much. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. People like Mr. Leo, thank you so much for being part of last night's podcast. And every single one of you that has recently joined the Footballtribe UG community, thank you so much for choosing to be part of our community to receive a majority of your football updates from a Footballtribe. How can Liverpool sell players for this match? Well, one would argue they are shrewd negotiators, but it's not to say they've not, taken hits or losses on some of their own sales. And if anything, Darwin is that example, and it's one of those that they've been getting stick for as of yesterday. If we need to, I think we need to find out what the exact figure was for Liverpool to be signing Darwin Núñez back in 2022 from Benfica. It did appear that that fee was quite significant, by the way. It was quite significant. So we'll get to discuss that in a bit. Allow me I need to log into a certain account here so that we would not lose connection at any one point. Anyways, I think we're good to go. You do pose some questions. Okay. Arsenal lost in pre-season against Villarreal 3-2. Very disappointing result, but we did also digest that one last night. We'll give a few more pointers in regards to what we saw. And Chelsea too, they sold Havertz for 65 million, and this season Madueke and Felix for more than 100 million. It's not more than 100 million because it's around 42 to 46 million pounds for Joao Felix, then 52 for Madueke, so it's below that, but I do understand the point you're trying to make, that Chelsea are making significant sales. For me, what was eyebrow raising, particularly for the kind of deals that Chelsea have negotiated, is selling Leslie Ugochukwu and Armando Broja to Burnley for combined 45 million pounds, 20 for Broja and 25 for Ugochukwu. I mean, that's a significant fee, and particularly because we're talking about players that have not been, it's not like they've been playing really, really well. That okay, that they are 50-50s, but they are the kinds of players that you take a bet on. I understand maybe for Leslie Ugochukwu, he can play as a purpose player, bit of a number 6, bit of a number 8, depending on how you deploy him. He may look good, but I mean, 20 million for Brocha, I mean, I do not think his personal tally even reaches Premier League goals for the last 3 or 4 seasons. He's been at it. So, and yet he's gone that expensively. So, anyways, for those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. If you're new here, do not hesitate to leave me a comment. I'll be reading your comment. I'll be responding to your questions. For as long as they are worthy of being responded to. So, but I'll be reading all your comments and responding to them in as they do come through. But I seem to remember that Darwin Núñez cost Liverpool more than 85 million euros. Of course, selling him for less than that means that they take a hit in within 3 years. SM68, can you say ice swallow come? Ice swallow come? Okay. Shmael, you say I have to study, so I will come in 26 to 40 minutes. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, it's all good. It's all good. Shmael, it's always a pleasure to see you around. It's always a pleasure. So let's go back to the very, very first question and try to digest these things slowly by slowly. You know, because your first question was to do with Liverpool. How can Liverpool sell players for this match? Yes, they've sold some good players and for a good amount of fee. I think their first summer sale was must have been their first summer sale must have been Coleman Kelleher, who they sold to. Cheers to Chicago, brother. Cheers from Chicago. Wow. Thank you so much. Cheers to you too. From Kampala, Uganda. That's somewhere in a small part of East Africa. So thank you so much for joining us from Chicago. So I was saying Liverpool, their first summer sale was Coleman Kelleher. He did leave Liverpool to go to Brentford as a replacement for Mark Flaken in a deal that was worth £18 million. So that was a good sale on their books. They went and sold Joel Quensha for £35 million, £30 million guaranteed fees, plus £5 million in expected add-ons. Also negotiated a 60 to about £70 million buyback clause for the 22-year-old English defender. Then they went on and sold Luis Diaz for about 75 million euros, 70 million euros being the guaranteed fees. That's quite, good. That's quite a very, very good fee. That comes to about, should be coming to about somewhere like 63 something million pounds, which is really, really good. Now they get to on Darwin Núñez, those are some of the ones that do come off the fingertips. You remember they negotiated a very good deal with Real Madrid for Alexander Trent-Arnold. He was going to leave for free, but because Real Madrid wanted him to sign early and play for them at the FIFA Club World Cup, they ended up paying nearly £10 million, which included, covering the players' wages and things like that. So I thought that was a good piece of business from Liverpool. Not that it's the value of Alexander Arnold, but if you can raise £10 million, or even if it's 8, from a player that you are bound to lose totally for free without receiving a penny in the next fortnight, then that must be commendable business. Now, when it comes to Darwin Núñez, multiple sources say that the initial cost of the Uruguayan striker was £64 million. That was the guaranteed fees in 2022. But the deal did include add-ons that could rise up to £85 million. Now, whether his achievements had seen Liverpool pay add-ons that remains to be seen. My good guess is that the total fee did not reach £85 million, because I would want to assume that Liverpool, among the guarantees for add-ons, would have been the total number of goals that Darwin Núñez would score, in a campaign and things like that. And yet, oftentimes, his numbers came really, really low. However, he did help the team win the Premier League title last season. They won the FA Cup, before Jurgen Klopp left, and the Carabao Cup and things like that. So he was part of that. So I get the feeling that maybe they got some add-ons. So even if we were to say that the total fee was £70 million, selling him after 3 years for about 53 million euros, which essentially boils down to about £46 million. And remember, that's not the totality of the guaranteed fees. That's just, with add-ons combined. So £46 million, that means they take a bit of a hit on that. They take a bit of a loss, but because they sold Joe Concha, who is basically, homegrown and all profits, they are all good on that front. So Liverpool have really sold well so far in the market. It's not to say that they've been perfect, but I think they performed better than many teams that tend to sell players within those buckets. Then you spoke, Ashmal said Arsenal lost in pre-season against Villarreal by 3-2. That's very true. They lost last night. Nicolas Pepe, I think a young, some of those on target, as well as Arnold Danjuma for Villarreal, Martin Odegaard stepping up with the penalty, as well as Christian Nogard. Those were the goal scorers for what turned out mere consolations for the Gunners. They also lost the penalty shootout by 4-3. Noni Madueke missing his penalty, as well as Mikel Merino on the side of Arsenal. Of course, Villarreal also had their own miss, but eventually they won the game in normal time, as well as the penalty shootout, as that game being played under the Emirates FA Cup. Sorry, the Emirates Cup. Yes, the Emirates Cup. That's what they're playing in. And tomorrow, but one, that should be on Saturday, Arsenal will be back in action to face off with Athletic Bilbao. We're talking about an Athletic Bilbao side that looked quite impressive as they lost by 3-2 against Liverpool just very recently. Then in terms of how Arsenal deployed themselves, of course, I did not think that Mikel Arteta deployed his best team that we should be expecting to see at Old Trafford. However, it wasn't far from it. Some concerns remain over David Raya at this stage. So far, he didn't look pretty. The defense did not look good, but particularly because of the way the manager wants them to play. That left wing looked quite very vulnerable, and that's why you had that splitting pass between William Saliba and Maz Lewis Kelly that is played to Arnold Danjuma, who runs faster than most, even though Christian Mosquera tried to cover ground and attempt a block. He was unfortunately just a little too late for him to be able to make that block as Arnold Danjuma scored that goal. I think he scored that one against Kepa Arrizabalaga. He had come on. So when you look at the game again, of course, there are some positives to take up on. I thought Christian Mosquera looked good. I thought Max Dorman, when he came on, he looked good. He's the one that won Arsenal their penalty once again, just as much as he did against Newcastle. He looked a bit sharp, and it's not pretty when you have, your best player often being a 15-year-old. It doesn't look good on paper. Martin Zubimendi looked okay when he came on, but Arsenal struggled to carry the ball again. They struggled to penetrate the ball centrally. With their play, they always want to go sideways. Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli playing oftentimes in isolation, lacking the support that he would need from his left back and left eight to form that, that's a quick triangle that usually Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Ben White oftentimes form on the right side of the pitch and things like that. So Arsenal's obsession of taking all their attacks through the right wing ought to stop at some point. It ought to stop. They have to have the dynamism to switch that play as quick as possible, whether it's Martinelli or Madueke, who didn't look his best, but he could understand. He was only getting a couple of minutes for the first time in an Arsenal jersey. Whether it's Martinelli, whether it's Trossard, whether it's Madueke playing down the left wing, they need that support. Then I thought Mikel Merino overall was quite slow. I think he's a little too slow in terms of going forward and retreating back. So Arsenal didn't look good. Then in the first half, you had Victor Gyökeres being stabbed of service. They didn't find him so much. But again, it was Ethan Manelli who I thought had a very, very good first half when it came to ball carries. However, when it came to counter pressing and things like that, I thought he was quite lacking in his performance. And I think we can all agree to that he needs to improve on that when it comes. Sorry. Just improving on my lighting here. Yes. So when it comes to ball carries, I think he looked good. That's Ethan Manedi. JFFTBL says good morning. Good morning to you, my bar. Hope you're doing well. So he needs to do a lot of work when it comes to off-ball work, and I think that's where Martin Odegaard often gets the nod ahead of him, regardless of Odegaard's form. Then Shmal also said Chelsea too. They sold Havertz for £65 million, and this season Madueke and Felix for more than £100 million. I think I did clarify on that. Yes, Chelsea are good sellers. Sometimes you do wonder how they are able to negotiate certain deals, particularly for the fee of Arsenal of Noni Madueke. I kind of understand. This is a player that he's not looked bad. He looks very promising. Only 23 years of age. He's considered a homegrown player, Noni Madueke, so they tend to come expensive. Do you remember me? Yes, I do remember you, Jeff, but I just do not remember exactly where you told us you come from, the country. That's what I do not remember. So apologies on that. So Chelsea, but even Chelsea, in selling Kai Havertz to Arsenal for 65 million euros, again, they took a hit. They took a bit of a loss on their initial fee that they paid Baleba to sign him in 2020. So yeah, then but they've sold really, really well. They've been able to move on Joao Felix. They've been able to move on the goalkeeper. What's his name? Oh, I'm forgetting. Somebody remind me the Chelsea goalkeeper that left to join Manchester City. Should be okay. I need to find the name. The Man City, the Chelsea goalkeeper that left to join Manchester City. Yes, it was Marcus Bettinelli. Yes, Marcus Bettinelli. They moved on. So they moved on Joao Felix, Marcus Bettinelli, and they moved on, of course, Noni Madueke, and they moved on Armando Broja, Canary Chukwemeka. Sorry, not Canary Chukwemeka, but that one is in the pipeline. They moved on Leslie Ugochukwu. They moved on, what's his name? There's another player that has been moved on away from Chelsea. Kawa says, Sunny brother, greetings to you from Russia, Alexander. Oh, good to have you from Russia. I think you're the second or third person that joins us from Russia. It's a pleasure to see you around. The other person is called Agafonov. Usually comes around and says hello to us. So it's a pleasure to have you around. And do you even remember me, Jeff FT? Yes, I do remember you. Like I said, I just do not remember the exact country where you do hail from. But thank you so much, guys, for being part of this morning's broadcast. For those of you that are new to the channel, kindly consider subscribing so that you can help me to 2,000 subscribers. That's the mission at the moment. So just have been able to move on players and for quite some good fees. And it's looking pretty because they do have an agreement with the UEFA to get their balance of the books in order, having been penalized for about 31 million euros for being found in breach of the financial fair play rules. Then quickly, Shmal did say Nicolas Pepe's squad did celebrate. Yeah, it was out of respect to the Arsenal fans and everybody around. He did acknowledge, I think, in the post-match interview that he was that he still has some friends at Arsenal. He also put to, I think, to his Instagram, says something to do with like happy to be back home, something like that. So he while he left with his deal almost being just terminated, there was no bad blood between him and the club overall. So it's a place he has a liking for. So it's understandable that he did not celebrate. And Bayern Munich are stupid for signing the 20-year-old player. I do not think they are stupid for signing a 28-year-old player. I think by the time they took Harry Kane was a bit older than 28. So for as long as the player meets your standards and demands, then you're good to go, regardless of the age. I need Carlos Baleba 100 million. Pay Jim stop the crap. I think you meant stop the crap. That's Ifani Kedali. Hi, Ifani Kedali. kindly consider subscribing to the channel. But it's a pleasure to see you here, and also like the podcast. We're going to be speaking about Carlos Baleba in just a bit. Just indulge me. So I do not think you and I may sort of agree that perhaps 75 million euros was a bit of an overvaluation, or a bit of an overpay for a player his profile or his age for Luis Diaz. But let's not forget, you do have a 27-year-old going for around a similar fee. Of course, that of Luis Diaz is slightly more, but it's not the first time. You remember players around that age profile have cost that sometimes, and even more. You remember Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus, about 80 million pounds. Was it 80 million pounds, 80 million euros? But you can say it's worth it. You do remember Rob? Okay, that one went cheap. Yes, I'm trying to remember names, big name players that have made the moves at around that age profile and have gone for those kinds of figures, but I do not think the figures are too wild. Then for 64 mil, okay, can you say, okay, I think I responded to that, and that cheers from Chicago, thank you so much. Okay, let's now discuss Manchester United. The what if Manchester United signed Carlos Baleba and Gianluigi Donnarumma in addition to Benjamin Sesko, is the topic of this morning. It's the gist of the conversation this morning. And the reason as to why I bring this henceforth is that Manchester United have been in contact with Carlos Baleba's camp through intermediaries to try and assess what it would take them or what it would cost them to sign Carlos Baleba from Brighton and Hove Albion. I think you and I will agree that he wouldn't come cheap, because in any case, Brighton would be looking no far from within their own backyard to benchmark on the deal that they made with Chelsea for Moises Caicedo. If they are to do a deal for Carlos Baleba, he wouldn't come cheap, and I think Manchester United know that perhaps more than any of us. According to multiple reports, Manchester United's current valuation of the player is around 70 million pounds. But I do not think that Brighton are going to let go of Carlos Baleba for anything less than 80 to 100 million pounds. That's the kind of figures that we are looking at for, I think, is he 21 years of age, the Ivory Coast midfielder. So Carlos Baleba is a very, very interesting name this morning. So it did come out yesterday that Manchester United were really, really interested. Those rumors have been around, by the way, almost all summer. Almost all summer. He's only 21 years of age, and he's from Cameroon, not Ivory Coast. So apologies on that. But he hasn't been at Brighton for long. He's only been there for one season. That's 2024-2025. 34 appearances, 3 goals and 1 assist. Only 1 red card. He did also score in the EFL Cup. But he's a deep lying midfielder. Very, very interesting. I think he was signed from, must have been signed from Lille. Must have been his previous club, before joining Brighton and Hove Albion. Yes. So, anyways, when you look at that, very, very good athletic player, very industrious, very press resistant. He's a bit of a box-to-box kind of holding midfielder. The way he applies himself, he can play with another holding midfielder as he plays that box-to-box role of a bit of an 8, although he's not that creative, but he has that engine of going back and forth, more of a Douglas Luiz kind of engine, very, very athletic, like I said. So Manchester United are interested. And we are saying, what if, in addition to them sealing the deal for Benjamin Sesko, for which even up to as of this morning, they do continue negotiations with RB Leipzig over sealing the deal for Benjamin Sesko, which is going to cost them a total of about 85 million euros. That's for guaranteed fees and expected add-ons combined. So what if they were able to add Carlos Baleba? I think that would be very, very interesting. And then they also remain interested in signing Gianluigi Donnarumma from PSG. Nothing is advanced. Not much negotiations have taken place, but they've been constantly linked with the potential move for the 26-year-old goalkeeper, who only who is already entered into the last 12 months of his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. He could leave, he could stay, but that's why we are saying what if. I think those three signings, in addition to Brian Mbeumo and Matthias Cunha, not forgetting Diego Leon, would really change our stance in the way we look at Manchester United. Not particularly Benjamin Sesko, because there's also a school of thought that Man United are where they are because of player buys like Benjamin Sesko. Oftentimes they've paid top dollar or very high transfer fees for young prospects, and they never live to the fruition. You know, I need to go. Great stream. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much, JF. FTBL. It was a pleasure having you around. Thank you so much for sparing the time to be with us and support the channel. Your love and support is not taken for granted. So you look at some of the signings that Manchester United have made over the years that have been sort of futuristic, for lack of a better word. In other words, are looking towards the future. Rasmus Højlund is in the same bucket. Players like Anthony, players like Jadon Sancho, these were players that were already hacking it at their respective teams. At Atlanta for Rasmus Højlund, at Ajax for Anthony, and then you had Jadon Sancho at BVB, that's Borussia Dortmund in Germany. And all those players have not lived to their expectations. You had Joshua Zirkzee coming in from Bologna last summer. So he's not lived to his full potential so far. Amadi Diallo is yet to have a full-blown season in a Manchester United jersey. He's been predominantly injured ever since he was equally signed, I think, from Atlanta. So you look at all that and say, Sesko is another huge bet. It could work out. It could be an instant click, or it could be a progressive, quick development, the way it happened for Alexander Isak at Newcastle. So it's a bit of a gamble, but Manchester United have taken these kinds of gambles before. It's not like we've not seen them before. So yeah. But anyways, I think if they were to get Baleba and Gianluigi Donnarumma in this transfer window, in addition to Sesko and all the other two that they've already brought in, I think our stance, regardless of who remains in management, will be really very different in the way we look at Manchester United and the way we assess that kind of threat, because that will be some huge firepower. Because in Gianluigi Donnarumma, you will be getting yourself a very experienced, top towering goalkeeper. We saw all his voices last season, especially in the UEFA Champions League. Then in Carlos Baleba, you get yourself a solid central midfielder who Manchester United have really lacked for a while. Yes, I know they've made additions for like Manuel Ugarte from Paris Saint-Germain last summer. They made additions of Casemiro. Yeah. They've not been at their 10 out of 10 kind of performances, for the time they've been at Old Trafford, particularly Casemiro. You could cut Manuel Ugarte some slack that, he's new to the league, he needs to a bit of adapt, and the first season had to be that, and perhaps it's going to look much better in the second season. But so far, yeah, that's the situation. That's how I would assess that. Let's move on away from our speculative nature of Manchester United and the what ifs and the what if nots in regards to what could happen and what may not happen. Of course, plenty of news still making the rounds. Of course, I did tell you about Alexander Isak has been asked to train alone. That situation is not about to change. Liverpool did agree a deal worth 53 million euros for the transfer of Darwin Núñez to Al Hilal. They've already agreed to personal terms, so we expect that deal to go through in the coming days. So let's wait and see for the brilliancy of that. Then quickly, Mikel Arteta on Noni Madueke, this is what he had to say. I think Noni, when you ask him, he's very comfortable playing right and left. So if we want to have inverted footed players, we can do that. He's a real threat. I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't want to play him against. I wouldn't want wouldn't want to play against him, and we want to find something else play. So with the natural footed players, he's going to give us that situation today. You've already seen a couple of balls that he put in the box, the pace and the quality he can deliver. So those were some of the comments from Mikel Arteta about their new signing, Noni Madueke, who was making his debut yesterday against Villarreal. Then Manchester City are in talks with Everton over the transfer of Jack Grealish. Let's wait and see. That deal is equally not advanced, but it's being negotiated to see how whether a deal can be found for the 29-year-old England winger slash attacking midfielder. So we should keep tabs on that. Then Everton also remain in pursuit of Tyler Dibling from Southampton. They also hold interest in Malik Fofana from Olympic Lyon. Although it is being reported that the 20-year-old Belgian international is still waiting for opportunities from UEFA Champions League teams. But let's wait. We will wait and see how everything does pan out. And then quickly, let's go digest the latest from the transfer speculation and gossip desk as compiled by BBC Sport as of this morning. We've spoken about Carlos Baleba, we've spoken about Jack Grealish, we've spoken about Alexander Isak being asked to train alone. Then Newcastle are interested in signing Malik Theo from AC Milan. That's the German 23-year-old centre-back who, of course, AC Milan, that's Maximiliano Allegri, does not want to let the player go, and that bid has not yet been accepted, but that's according to Gazette dello Sport. The Nottingham Forest are interested in signing Douglas Luiz from Juventus, as well as Everton. They are also in the race to sign the 27-year-old Brazilian holding midfielder. Then Nottingham Forest also had a bid of about £35 million turned down for Omari Hudson from Ipswich Town. Brentford also remain interested. Brentford looked at him as a potential replacement for Brani Bumo, while for Nottingham Forest, they see him as a potential replacement for Anthony Elanga. Then RB Leipzig are in advanced talks on contract terms with England 21 midfielder Harvey Elliott, and if they can find an agreement on personal terms, then they will proceed to make a formal approach to Liverpool. Then Inter Milan could turn their attention to Manchester United winger Jadon Sancho if they fail to sign Ademola Lookman, who has previously been also linked with the potential move to Arsenal, while Mateo Kovacic, despite interest from the Saudi Pro League clubs, he wouldn't want to leave Manchester City this summer. So those are some of the major transfer, speculations that are taking place at the moment in terms of gossip and things like that. The Brighton and Hove CEO was saying that they are yet to receive any approach from Carlos Baleba. He says they do understand that he's a very good player, that big teams are always bound to to be attracted by their player and things like that. So let's wait and see. What's his name? Oli Robert. Is it Oli Roberta? Dayak says, I'm late. May you talk about Sesko? Negotiations between Manchester United and RB Leipzig continue. Remember, Manchester United made a bid worth 75 million euros as guaranteed fees plus 10 million euros in add-ons. That bid was not accepted by RB Leipzig. However, RB Leipzig had accepted Newcastle's bid of 82.5 million euros as guaranteed fees plus 2.5 million euros in expected add-ons. Now, in the wake of the fact that the player has chosen Manchester United over Newcastle, Manchester United need to perhaps match what Newcastle were offering if they are to get that, a green light from RB Leipzig. But for the moment, there's no club-to-club agreement on the deal. The player, when it comes to personal terms, those are not an issue. Multiple reports have suggested that he has already agreed to a 5-year contract with Manchester United in principle. So what we are waiting is for an agreement on club-to-club side. Those talks are ongoing as of this morning for Manchester United to find a solution. Now, the difficult thing for Manchester United in these negotiations is that RB Leipzig had already an accepted offer in place. So if you do not match that, then they can simply say no deal, And while they want to sell, they'll stick to their guns to have their valuation made. So that's the update I can give you about Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United. Unless you have any other questions, but thank you so much, Ole, for joining us this morning. Kindly consider liking the broadcast, but also subscribing to the channel as well. Then Liverpool consider Bradley Barcola as a world-class player, but no bid or talks at this stage. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. Remember, Liverpool are looking for a winger, although their priorities could be with the centre-back and things like that. Let's wait and see. Then, okay, Wilfred Ndidi is joining Besiktas, so he did travel for his medical. And then Donnarumma of PSG, it's reported interest, but there's not been any approaches on both player and club side to sign Gianluigi Donnarumma. That's why our question this morning is a what-if question. How about Emiliano Martinez to United? News: Manchester United had proposed a loan deal to Aston Villa, but they did decline that for their 32-year-old experienced Argentine goalkeeper. And reports do suggest that Aston Villa want at least between 35 to 40 million pounds if they are to let go of their goalkeeper. Remember, he remains contracted until I think June 2029. So contractually, they are in a very comfortable position, but he's one of the players that they would consider moving on this summer. So there's not been much progress on Manchester United's pursuit of a goalkeeper this summer yet. Then Lucas Digne will sign a new deal at Aston Villa until June 2028. There were initially, during the course of this summer, there were reports linking him with the potential move to Atletico de Madrid. So yeah, there's that. Then Son Heung-min did a big farewell to Tottenham Hotspur fans and has officially joined Los Angeles Football Club on a 3-year contract. Sorry, on a 4-year contract that runs until the deal is valid for the next 2 years until June 2027, with an option to extend it for a further 2 years until June 2029. So that's the 33-year-old, a South Korean international. So we've spoken about Darwin Núñez to Al Hilal. That one is done. What else? We've spoken about Jack Grealish. We've spoken about Mateo Kovacic. Newcastle could turn their attention to Nicholas Jackson after failing to get a deal for Benjamin Sesko. I think they may wait a little longer to see if the deal between Man United and RB Leipzig for Sesko collapses before they can move back in, but they are well aware of the players just at this stage. Excuse me. They are also expected to go back in pursuit of Yohan Wissa, but their last bid in the excess of 30 million pounds had been turned down. With Brentford being reluctant, they do not want to sell. Then Everton did announce the signing of Keenan Brisbane Hall from Chelsea for 25 million pounds plus 4 million pounds in expected add-ons. So very, very good deal there for Chelsea. Another well-negotiated move. Of course, they take a bit of a hit because they signed him only last summer, for about 35 million pounds. Ashman says, I'm back. Donnarumma is likely to be sold as Chavalia is coming. Where do you think Donnarumma will go? Let's not forget, PSG, I think, equally got him as a free agent when he was leaving AC Milan. So far, teams that he's been linked with a potential move to Manchester United, Chelsea. Then he was linked with a potential move to Galatasaray. They are really, really interested. Then Initially, earlier on in the transfer window, there was speculation linking him with the potential move to Real Madrid. However, none have ever formally approached PSG to try and sign Gianluigi Donnarumma. So we will wait. I do not think AC Milan fans love him now. Obviously, usually when a player leaves for free and they are well within their prime or still very young, their home fans never take too good to it. Look at the example of Alexander Trent Arnold when he was leaving Liverpool. Who is your favorite player from Manchester City? Manchester City. Favorite player. Let me see. Maybe Omar Mamosh. Omar Mamosh. I find him very, very exciting. Yes, I know. Somebody out there must be wondering, why not about Erling Haaland? Yes, but Erling Haaland is a good goal scorer, but usually there's more to the game than just scoring goals. But yeah, present day, it's Omar Mamush, but previously it had been KDB all the way. It had been KDB all the way. Yeah, I agree. He's a very, very good player. Yes, very, very brilliant player in there. Then for Liverpool, if you had to ask me, I'd say Mohamed Salah is very exciting, but for some reason, I enjoy watching Dominic Szoboszlai. I do not know why. I just like him. I just like Dominic Szoboszlai. Very, very interesting talent in there. What else? What else have we? Meanwhile, Rodrigo De Paul did score his first goal for Inter Miami. Very, very cheeky goal, by the way. Luis Suarez finding him right in the middle of the center there to score his first goal. I think they were playing in World Cup, some cup competition that they were playing in. I think they won. Last I checked, the game was at about 3-1 in favor of Inter Miami. But yeah, Pakistanis players who play in the UEFA Champions League, first time ever. Okay, who will win the Puskas Award for the, I think the Mamush goal? When it comes to the Puskas Award, I've not yet seen any nominations, but usually there are very, very interesting goals out there than we oftentimes get to see on our screens. But yeah, Omar Mamush had a brilliant goal. Who was it against? It wasn't against Leicester City. Was it against Crystal Palace? No, maybe not Palace. But he had a very, very interesting goal that he did score. Then, according to some reports, Arsenal are waiting to see if Real Madrid will allow Rodrigo to leave on loan this summer. On loan, wow, that would be a good deal. Not against, yeah, it wasn't against Bournemouth. The Yellow Dayak, hi, how are you? Good to have you back. It's been a while. It's been a minute. I think we did miss you for the last couple of about 2 days. I hope you're doing good. Football Tribe guy is Arsenal signing Eze. There's nothing much that has progressed on the Eze deal. All we know that is Arsenal interested. They did approach Crystal Palace at some level to assess the conditions of what it would take. But whatever Andrea Bata is working on or has been working on for the previous 1 week and a half or so is still a bit of a mystery to us. Liverpool may sign Gehi. I mean, I've already said they should go sign Gehi. I did hear reports that Newcastle may renew their interest in signing Mark Gehi. Good. How about you? Busy on my farm? Yeah. Keep up the hustle. Get that oil, that palm oil, squeeze it out of those palm trees. So keep up the hustle. The Yellow Dayak there. So then, what else? What else have we not looked at? You say I saw your shots saying Jack Grealish might join Everton. Do you think he will revive his career? I think when he goes to a team like Everton, he has the possibility of reviving his career. Yes, Everton is not it does not have that kind of pressure really, and he can once again be the main man, because once he joined Manchester City, he was not the star that he was at Aston Villa, and usually that's a bit of a challenge that some players face when you come from an average team or smaller team compared to the one you're joining, and you've been the star at that team, and then suddenly you find a whole pool of stars, on the other side. You remember Bruno Fernandes when Cristiano Ronaldo returned to Manchester United? He was no longer the star of the team because the focus was on Cristiano Ronaldo, and that's also in part the question that has been put to a player like Bryan Mbeumo. Can he keep that anger, that eagerness that he had at Brentford? Because at Brentford he was he was the main man, if not second to Yohan Wissa, depending on how you rank them. So they look up to him, and yet when you go to Manchester United, there's Bruno Fernandes, there's Matthias Cunha now. It's not going to be just about you. So sometimes those things do get to players, and they do not put in their very best because of that sort of inferiority complex when they join bigger teams. Okay. Simons and Garnacho. You mean Xavi Simons and Garnacho? Yes, Chelsea continue with negotiations with RB Leipzig for the transfer of Xavi Simons. However, that's the deal they want to seal first before making their move for Alejandro Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho seems to be patiently waiting for Chelsea to make their move. He would love to join Chelsea. Then also you did ask Chelsea got Hato for a bargain. Yeah, I thought that was quite a bargain for them to get to get Joel Hato for just a little over 40 million euros. I do agree with you on that one. Then okay, Aston Villa, Jack Grealish was something else. Yeah, he was quite a player. That's why he was able to command that £100 million fee, although I did not agree with it at the time. I thought it was too high. Manchester United have spent almost 180 million on 3 players. I think if they do sign Benjamin Sesko, it will come. Actually, it is going to be around 200 million. 200 million, because you look at already Bryan Mbeumo cost 71, but the guaranteed fees being 65. You did have a 62.5 million pounds for Matthias Cunha. So if you add in that, almost 80. Okay, it boils down to about what, 64 million pounds, something in that ballpark, which takes it to almost 190 million pounds for total spend. Footballtribe guy is greater than Fabrizio Romano. Thank you so much for the compliment. Petrovic or Sanchez will be the first goalkeeper. Petrovic has already left Chelsea and joined AFC Bournemouth for 25 million pounds. Sunderland, he was destined to join Sunderland, but once Bournemouth got wind of the situation, they rushed in and they signed George Petrovic for 25 million pounds. So it is Robert Sanchez that is going to stay alongside Felipe Jorgensen. Yes, the goalkeeper. Then you say 200 mil for 3 players isn't cheap. Yeah, of course it's not cheap. It's never cheap. Maresca loves Sanchez. He's the best. He's the best amongst those they have. When you look at all the goalkeepers they've had in their ranks, he's the best that they have, really. So it's not really about Maresca loving him more than others. But when you compare him to all the others that they have, he is the best goalkeeper. That's why, by the way, Chelsea were in the market. We're trying to sign Mike Maignan from AC Milan, the 29-year-old French goalkeeper who has entered the final year of his contract with AC Milan. Then you say Sanchez has Maresca's secret man. We need a new goalkeeper. You could say that. I think, okay, Chelsea need a top goalkeeper. Same goes for Manchester United. And this is not to say that Andre Onana is not a top goalkeeper. In fact, I was watching a quick fire that was put to Edwin van der Sar, and he said he would choose Andre Onana over David De Gea. Something that I found odd that I couldn't disagree with. But yeah, Jose Sanchez was second on errors. I mean, he just can't. He's the kind of player that will give you a top performance in this game, and then he can't replicate it for the next 5-10 games. You remember what we saw of him at the finals of the FIFA Club World Cup. He looked quite very decent. He looked a 10 out of 10 kind of goalkeeper. But can he give you that game in, game out? That's not usually the case. Maresca loves Sanchez so much. Like I said, when you compare Sanchez to the rest of the goalkeepers they have, you'll agree that he is the better one. I think they are best friends. I wouldn't take it that far. But West Ham were exploring a deal to sign him, but they've since moved on to Jean Victor once Chelsea said they were not interested in selling. Onana is flash. I wouldn't want to think so. You do not go from being elected or voted the best goalkeeper in the world in 2023, and then suddenly in 2 years, just because you join Manchester United, you become totally shit, you know, for lack of a better word, and apologies on that use of language. But people forget that Man United have been signing good players over the years, and they've not lived to those expectations. Whether it's and it's one too many for us to say it's a coincidence or that it's the players' fault. Something has to do with Manchester United. So I certainly do not think that Andre Onana became a bad goalkeeper overnight. Onana fell off harder than my grades. I hope your grades do not fall that far. Football tribe guy using words is wild. Like I said, I apologize. It was for lack of a better word. It was for lack of a better word. I promise to do better next time. I promise to do better next time. But anyways, guys, thank you for the fruitful engagement. It's been a fruitful conversation. The Yellow Dark, Shmail, Jeff, Ole, SM68, and every single one of you that has liked the broadcast, that has submitted in a comment. It's always good to see you guys around. Thank you so much for the continued love and support. Yes, it's fine. It accidentally slips. Do not worry, bro. Okay, thank you so much for your courtesy that you do extend there. So, guys, allow me wrap this one up here and go and I also run to my other duties. But it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Thank you so much for the continued love and support. I do not take it for granted. Let's meet later in the day and discuss more of football that there will be. Perhaps maybe a quick reminder before I sign out. There are some games that are taking place today in the African Nations Championships between DRC Congo against Zambia at 4 p.m. while at 7 p.m. There will be a game between Angola and Kenya. So that's for the games today. And then tomorrow, Algeria will be up against South Africa, while Uganda will take on Guinea. Otherwise, stay blessed and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye for now.